Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Negative Alpha Bravo. And this is 7 November Golf. Roger, request you check your Romeo side. I'll go ahead and check my Tango side. 7 November Golf out. November 8-5, and 8-5, 7 November, say again. 7 November, go. I copied a while ago, 1 Charlie transmission that my thing used, and 8-5, this is 7 November, Charlie. 8-5, now 1 Charlie, 7 November, go.
This is 1 Charlie, reference to your last, you're Brandon 158, extra 5 o'clock, 1200 between teams and local. Also request your unit take extra Nexus to see if we can try to get Whiskey 9 and 8. Come on, this is a playground.
And this is 7 November, Roger, stand by.
Got that.
Got it? Alright. And all units, this is 7 November Golf. My unit Alpha, Echo, X-ray Alpha Alpha in there.
One Charlie, Alpha Bravo.
Hey, I never took a dip. I forgot to take a dip.
Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Whiskey 9, Yankee, 7 November Golf, over. This is Whiskey 9, go. Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Whiskey 9, Yankee, 7 November Golf, over. This is Whiskey 9, go. Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Negative Alpha Bravo. And this is 7 November Golf. Roger, request you check your Romeo side. I'll go ahead and check my Tango side. 7 November Golf out. November 8-5, and 8-5, 7 November, say again. 7 November, go.
Hey, welcome to another live on the CIVDIV. Now, my background looks a little weird. That's because I'm a little busy at the moment. But today we have the VeteranAI. What are you, like the CEO, the Grand Master, the Wizard? I mean, what are you of VeteranAI? Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like the Grand Master. That sounds pretty awesome. I'll get a little plaque for that.
Yes, we have the Grand Master, the chess style Grand Master, not the other kind. But yes, so we have VeteranAI with us, and what we're gonna do is simply answer questions. Okay, we're answer VA disability questions, and then Dennis here is gonna give us the VeteranAI spin to that. If that's a question that could be answered, maybe how the tool can help you answer that question. And each situation is it's very unique. There's never the two same claims. So one question on sleep apnea and another question on sleep apnea are never going to be the same because everyone's evidence is unique. And really, that's what the AI tool does. It looks at your evidence and builds that evidence-based claim for you. But with that said, let's go ahead and jump right in. Now I'm going top to bottom. Okay. The first question is actually directed towards VeteranAI. So when you look at QCs, quality controls, what does VeteranAI do for QCs?
So the short story is for anything QA related, how we're going to ensure quality when it comes to, especially as we grow and we do more and more, I would say high-level claims and maybe supplemental claims, high-level reviews and things like that. The big step that we're going to do is if it's more or less assigned a high enough risk score, we can assign a actual human to be in the loop. And the way we want to do that is through partnerships with other accredited people. So mainly VSOs is what we're trying to work with, where if there's, if we analyze some claim and the AI or the model determines, hey, this is a high risk of basically me getting it wrong, we say, hey, we need a actual person to look at this. So that's one easy way to do it. Again, other ways are more technical. We just got to make sure that we're giving the right information to the AI and ensure that we are building other tools that can assist the AI, and again, assigning it basically an appropriate risk score to whatever claim we're analyzing. So the short story is either put a human in the loop where necessary, and if the risk associated with it isn't high enough, that'll be fine to go through with just the AI.
Yeah, something to look at. And what really comes to mind are like your PTSD due to military sexual trauma. That might be a moment where you have some type of QA, QC happening. Just off the top of my head, right? Because you would want a delicate situation. But at the same time, that person doesn't have like a power of attorney over that veteran's information. And so you would really need to segregate personal identifiable information and just have the claim information, right? So no social, email, none of that. Just say, hey, here's X. Here's what's going on. Check that. But food for thought. I don't know where you're at in that process, Dennis, but that's really what that comes to mind. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, I was going to say when it comes to PII, there's a specific package we use to basically scrub out. And we don't actually, it's not permanently gone. It's gone. And when it's stored, it's encrypted basically. So it goes through documents, looks for names and says, hey, this is a name, gets rid of the name and replaces it with random letters and numbers. So the point is when it gets output to you, the regular person, it can still come back as, hey, this is Clay, right here. But at no time is that ever stored in the database as like, hey, this is Clay. So that's kind of what we do to help try to ensure that privacy for vets right now. But it's a great idea, honestly. So.
Yeah, word. All right, Rebecca says waving from East Texas. All right, I'm waving from Virginia. It's kind of cold and nasty up here, so I hope it's warm where you're at. All right, 4 articles, research providing evidence. Should you submit the entire documentation or reference with source and pages? So I'm going to answer this from a claim perspective, okay? Should veterans upload studies with their claim or in support of their claim? That answer is no, right? That's my answer. There's no objective answer to that. I can tell you that the rater doesn't care, and I can tell you that the CMP examiner does not care. If you're going to go as far as looking at medical studies, and this is going to sound really stupid, okay, but that's because I'm saying it in a stupid way. Doctors have this joke, like medical doctors, MDs, physicians, psychiatrists, where they went to school for a really long time to learn how to read a study. That's kind of like their inside joke. And so when it comes to studies for your situation, you have to make sure that whatever is in there is specific to you. So if you're looking at migraine secondary to tinnitus, you can't just willy-nilly throw any other study out there because you have to look at your symptomology and what that looks like, and not every study is going to support your claim. In fact, that study might harm your claim, right? And that's neither, and the average veteran's not going to have that understanding. So I would totally not submit any of those with your claim. I understand, people would disagree with that. That's fine. What you're doing is the VA rater is not looking at it and the CMP examiner is not looking at it. And if you're going to go that route, I would simply just get the Nexus letter in the first place. All right. Now I'm going to shift this question to you, Dennis, for VeteranAI. When it comes to source documents of studies, how they, how VeteranAI generates Nexus letters and all that jazz. Real quick, just walk through that. We don't need like a 30-minute explanation. I know you can get nerdy here, right?
Yeah. So the short story is we basically have a database that's in-house from the NIH, PubMed, things like that. That we've basically scrubbed, taken out. And when you come in and you say, hey, I need to link migraines to PTSD or whatever the two things you're trying to link together, it basically goes out and tries to find journal articles, like medically researched journal articles that link those two things together. And what we tried to do, again, this goes into that earlier question about QC, is we really wanted to make sure that that product specifically was outputting as consistent and as good results as possible. So the reason it takes so long, if you've ever used it, is that it's not only doing that, it's also then saying, hey, does this actually, like, there's another whole step that re-looks at the article again and says, hey, does this actually, answer the question? And then once it gets past that, it basically does a little bit more, some grading, basically, of the article that we can use for later purposes. So, i.e., as time goes on, we'll have better and better and better search results with less time for people. But at the end of the day, that's what gets generated. A Nexus letter with, a few medically researched journal articles attached to it. So.
Yeah, awesome. All right. So if your pain level goes from, let's say, 10 being the worst to, let's say, 9.5 to 9, or even to 1 because of care treatment that's being done to you at the VA or community care, would your 100% P&T be reduced? So a few things here. I'm going to answer it for face value, and then I'm going to answer the question I think you're asking. So, when you go to the doctor and it says, hey, on this chart from 1 to 10, and there's these stupid smiley faces, what's your pain level? If you say 7, 8 one day and 3, 4 the next day, that's not going to be cause to reduce your disability rating, okay? And 2, you're 100% P&T, right? So all your conditions are static. The VA is not looking at them. There's not a ooh, this person said 3 and the alarms go off at the VA and they're looking at your claim. That's not how that works at all. ... With that said, okay, you're 100% P&T. Let's say you were going for mental health. You had suicidal ideations. You're rated at 100 or 70% for mental health. You have been, hallelujah, you've been cured, okay? You're off your medication. You have multiple instances of documented, you never have suicidal ideations, you're getting along with your children, you're not irritable, all of these like 10%, 30% symptoms. The VA is still not going to do anything if you're P&T unless you start submitting more claims, okay? And so you'll see people who have reevaluations because their evidence states a documented improvement of that condition. But if you're P&T, dude, or even if you're not P&T and you're static, the VA is not willy-nilly just looking at everything just because. You really have to prompt them to do that. Is there an AI twist to that you can think of, or what's up?
The biggest thing I could think with that is just general questions that I know everybody likes to ask Clayton about. You can, a lot of them can be answered by just asking the chatbot. That's... that's kind of why we made it. It doesn't have every bit of information. I'm not one to lie to everybody, but if there's something it doesn't know, the best thing about it right now is that if it doesn't know something and you get on, anybody on Clayton's Discord can attest to this. If you get on Discord and say, hey, Dennis, it'd be really great if it knew this. And you tell me where that is, I can upload that pretty darn quick. So that way, the next time somebody else asks that same question, it just knows about it right off the bat. So that's about, I guess, the tie-in I could get with that is that we could answer questions like that just with a little chat bot.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually going to link. I did a whole live on using that chat bot. And let me just go ahead and link that video real quick. And it really showcases what the chat bot can and cannot do. Okay. If you want to check that out, there it is. Boom. Okay, we have Chris Gutierrez here. This is a real life friend of mine. Okay, he actually ghosted me really hardcore a couple weeks ago. And Chris, if you're watching this, that's not cool, dude. Don't do that again. All right, we're real life friends. You text me back. But yes, thank you. Appreciate that. Pay Big Dave, what's up? How's it going? Rebecca says, if you have secondary stemming from different primaries, can you link multiples? Like anxiety secondary to MST, PTSD, and fear of suffocation related to COPD and constricted bronchitis. Okay, so your secondary claims anxiety, and you're looking at multiple conditions that lead to your anxiety. The answer is yes, right? So sleep apnea is secondary to PTSD, to COPD, to asthma, to rhinitis. It's all correlating factors to sleep apnea, right? The answer is yes. Now, because you worded this question as you worded it, if you're looking at anxiety and MST and PTSD, those are all the same for VA rating purposes. So it doesn't matter if you have insomnia, as long as that's roped under the general rating formula for mental health. MDD, major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, SSD, bipolar, right? You're just absolutely crazy. All those ratings are the same: 10, 30, 50, 70, and 100. They're all the same. Okay. Is there a VeteranAI twist to that one?
And no, I was going to say biggest thing, ask ChatBot. Doesn't know something, let me know. We'll get that fixed. But I think he answered it perfectly.
All right. Hey, that's what I do. I try to answer questions. All right. John Collins says, what are my chances of service connecting my anxiety from my service in Afghan? You were there in 02 to 03, retired in 2010. Thank you. Continue the good work. Yeah. So based on this information, I can't tell you anything. Now I'm going to make some assumptions based on all the veterans I've helped from that time frame, right? And so it depends on what happened in 03 or 02, 03. If you have a combat entry badge or a CAB, combat action badge, or you're in the Marine Corps or Navy and you have the combat action ribbon, right? Maybe you were in the Air Wing and you have their air medal or whatever it is the air people have, right? That alone would be your in-service stressor for something like PTSD, right? Now, even if you don't have PTSD, it could still be like unspecified stressor disorder, right? There's so many diagnoses under DSM-5 criteria outside of just anxiety, depression, and PTSD. Now, obviously, those are the main three that we see in veterans. But looking at that, and my assumption is something happened, or else you wouldn't have asked that question. That's right. So maybe you were in fear for your life. Did you receive contact? Did you take IDF, indirect fire? Something happened. And so what are your chances? That's not the right question. The right question is what happened, or do you have a current diagnosis? If that's the case, submit the claim. All right. Now, looking at VeteranAI, how could your tool help a person in this situation? Because what I see, Dennis, the overwhelming majority of veterans I speak to or comment on this channel or even in the Discord, they didn't get out of the service last year, right? It's usually like a 10 plus year gap, sometimes 20, 30 plus year gap from, hey, I got out in 2010. It's now 2024. We're talking about a 14-year gap here. The incident happened in 02, 03, which is a 21-year gap. How can VeteranAI kind of help someone fill the requirements for service connection, which are the in-service event, the current diagnosis, and the nexus? And then there's this hidden fourth criteria for this situation, which is continuity of care, right, of your symptoms.
Yeah. I was going to say we could definitely tackle a good chunk of that first part, which was how can we generate the documentation? And you said this is 20 years ago. I don't remember what happened yesterday. So the perk of basically AI is that we try to answer or ask very specific questions, and that's very intentional. We've had a few people say, "Hey, can you change these?" I'm not too terribly willing to, because again, we talk to a lot of people to pick those questions. And the idea is you don't have to remember everything, but you can give enough context to the AI to be able to still generate a decent personal statement, especially with this, which I'm assuming this is, so like a mental health issue, with our the PTSD flow that we have now, it's directly tied to the DSM-5. So you don't even need to know what the DSM-5 is. We pull that right in. So when we generate a statement, we can say, hey, these are the criteria. This is just it in words. So that covers that. It's a huge headache for a lot of people right there. The other bit that helps out is buddy letters. So in this case, you could, if you were with anybody, just send them an email and they can write something up for you. Bam, done. And obviously, we kind of covered Nexus letters and things like that. I think the buddy letters, again, Clayton, you probably know a little bit more about that. I think the buddy letters and some statements, and if you have any like additional evidence, like, hey, I was here at this time, and there's a whatever incident did occur, that should be sufficient. The hardest part, like what Clayton was saying, is do you have continuity of care between there and there? And at the end of the day, I would say it's never too late, but you want to, at the end of the day, you want to go see your doctor for these things. Anything that's bugging you, anything at all in general, you should be seeing a doctor and talking about that and making sure they're writing it down.
Yeah, and it depends what your in-service stressor is, right?
Yeah.
Let's say, so if you take contact and you have documented combat, that's evidence, easy peasy. I don't care if it's a 50-year gap, right? Yeah. But let's say you don't, right? So let's say you were in Afghanistan 02, 03, you were on some airfield on the wire, nothing really happened. Zero mentions of anxiety at all, no IDF, no contact, nothing. That all of a sudden changes the entire situation and the entire basis of evidence. And so it depends on what your evidence is, right? And so if you're looking at a statement to say, hey, this event did happen, but it's not documented, that's really hard to prove. It's still possible, but you have to have absolute solid indicators that the event did happen, right? Versus you have documented combat, it's like, hey, easy peasy, it's right there. All right, awesome. And so KQ says, remember the good old days. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was like, as a follow-up, because I know some people, I see somebody saying in the comments, how do I paid for this, how do I best use it? And, that's kind of like one of the hard things with AI. And, what you just described there is like basically like almost like the plan of attack. Like, how are you actually going to accomplish this? And unless, again, like you have, years of experience, it's hard. But what you can do, because not everybody has a Clayton up here in their head.
Yeah.
Again, like that's where you can say, hey, ChatBot, this is the situation. And the problem we see so far the most is you don't give enough context to it. It doesn't know what's going wrong, or it doesn't understand everything. So if it says, hey, it pretty much like that question that came up, it would answer it the same way. It would say, hey, I don't know what the answer is. But if you said, hey, these things happen, it's been this long since then, I haven't had any care since then, and you told it all that, it probably would spit out, hey, it sounds like what you need to do is go probably write some layman statements, and you need to go see your medical provider. Again, it's not guaranteed to say stuff like that, but the point what I'm trying to drive is having these conversations with specifically the chatbot, and the more it knows, it remembers the conversations in the back, and the more it knows about it, the better its result can be. So if you're not getting an answer that you want, a lot of times it's just you need to add some additional information to it, and it can generally give you a pretty good answer. It's not going to be Clayton, he's a lot better, but but it's gonna help you out.
I'm gonna break down what you said, kind of Barney style, because I think that went over a lot of people's heads, and this is something that I'm not going to call this predatory, but there are other companies out there that have AI tools that are essentially a great value version of a product, right? Versus like the name brand. So what I mean by that is if you're on an AI tool that doesn't prompt you for information and it just spits out boilerplate results, that's bad. Okay. It feels good because it's instant gratification. You're like, yes, I just got my statement. But if you did not input your evidence into that statement and you did not prompt the AI on what to do or say, if the AI didn't look at your situation, right? If I'm doing a statement from VeteranAI and it looks at Dennis's situation and applies Dennis to me, that's bad, right? And a lot of AI tools will do that. I would argue probably most of them do that. Versus VeteranAI, whenever you create your profile, it starts with a questionnaire. right? You got to go through, hey, here's when I served, here's where I've been to, here's where I haven't been to. And the tool knows you. You can upload documents to the tool. And that's a good way just for the tool, just to know you, right? I would look at VeteranAI. If I was to explain it to like my 10-year-old son, I would say, hey, VeteranAI is your friend. And the more you tell it, the better friend it becomes, right? Versus this other tool over here that's just like, oh, here's a statement for PTSD that was used, from a Board of Veteran Appeals claim that's on the open source internet. It's like, okay, well, that's great for that guy 20 years ago, but that has nothing to do with me, right? His statement is from Bosnia. My statement's from Afghanistan. So food for thought. You got to be very, very weary of things like that. Now, we do have our first super chat. So thank you, Fragrance Man. I love you very much. He says, what's the difference between sciatic rated at 10% mild and 20% moderate? I'm diagnosed with sciatica, but how do I explain my injury? Yes, that is a great question. Okay. Now, this one is somewhat complicated because there's two answers. There's a right now current answer, and then there's an answer that's going to take place in the future because neurological conditions are proposed to change, and these are going to happen. Okay, so right now, it is super subjective, right? For my sciatica rating, it was a little hammer. It kind of looks like this AirPod case, little triangle with a hammer, and then I'm sitting down and they hit my knee. And so when that person hits your knee, they're looking at your reflex. This probably all happened to us in high school when we got our physicals, right? Except for in the case of sciatica, they hit your knee and nothing happens. That's nerve damage. And so for me, that was my test. Now, is that a proper way to test sciatica? The answer is no, right? You're looking at gravity, you're looking at grades, and strength of your neurological condition. And so right now, super subjective, okay? What you're going to have to do is speak to your healthcare provider, Fragrance Man, and say, hey, my nerve damage has gotten a lot worse. I believe it's moderate. It hurts. Whatever your symptoms are, explain your symptoms. And you're looking at your provider to put the word moderate in your records. And then you can use that to submit the increase. Until these changes happen, there is no set standard on how a CMP examiner or the VA even rates that condition because they're going to be changed. Hence the proposed changes, right? The changes need to happen. We have another super chat from the best name on the planet. Okay. Clayton C says, how can I tell if I'm getting a bilateral for my 10% right-left radiculopathy? I will show you that right now. One, it's automatic. Okay. The VA gets a lot of things wrong. They aren't going to get this wrong. Now, a 10% bilateral is not much. Let me make sure I can do this on the fly. Okay, look at this. I'm so good at StreamYard. All right, we're going to go to DAV calculator. That's the one I personally use. I used to use the Hill and Ponton calculator, but this one's better. So you would put your percentage in, right? Let's just say you're this many, 72%. And if you had two 10% ratings without a bilateral factor, you would be 78. But if you had two 10% with bilateral, so 110 left leg, 110 right leg, you're still 78. But you see the 1.9 there. And so it's important that 10% are, everyone over exaggerates the bilateral factor. The bilateral factor doesn't even matter until you start hitting your big percentages, right? So let's say we do a 20% left arm, right arm. Now that 4.8, that's a large bilateral factor versus just two different 20s. So that went from 86 to left arm, right arm. Did I do that wrong? I did do that wrong. 20% left arm, 20% right arm, to an 87, right? So you're at a 1.9. This one's at a 4.8, and it only added 1 extra percent. And so that's a really long way around the barn to say everyone freaks out about bilateral factors, but it's really nothing. Unless you're in the high numbers like 5.0, 6.0, 7.0 bilateral factors, it's not going to make or break your claim at all. Okay, it's really not going to. But that's how you would be able to double tap that. So Fragrance Man and Clayton C, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now I got to figure out where we were at. Okay, here we go. This old goat. So I'm trying to get my torn meniscus as a secondary to lower back. I have no complaints. My record of knee issues. So I'll answer this one, and then maybe Dennis, you can talk about the if this person was to use VeteranAI for a Nexus letter, kind of what would that look like? Okay. And so, first off, old goat, I want to be very clear here. You are fighting an uphill battle. Okay, uphill. Just from the get-go, get that in your mind. It's not going to be easy. Because what you generally see is musculoskeletal conditions affect other body parts from the ground up, right? So ankles and your feet are going to affect your knees and your back. Your knees are going to affect your hip and your back, and you kind of work from the ground up. Now, can it go top down? It absolutely can, right? If my back is all jacked up and I'm super leaning on one side and I'm walking like this for 6 years, you could probably imagine my left side and my right side are both going to have some issues going down the road. Now, I assume you're not walking like that. That's an exaggeration. But from the get-go, you're fighting an uphill battle. What you need to do, most importantly, is speak to your healthcare provider and say, hey, I have this torn meniscus condition, right? It's new. I think it came from my back. Here's my back condition. Doc, what are your thoughts on this? Like, where did this condition come from? Because it came from somewhere, right? So that's something to stick in your back pocket. Before I pass it over to you, Dennis, I always, when it comes to, sketchy secondaries like this, I don't want to give people the wrong view on you can connect anything you want, because you can't, okay? You also have to look at competing evidence. So here's a really stupid example. Let's say you have this torn meniscus and this lower back condition. You were bowling one day. And when you were bowling, that's when you tore your meniscus and it had nothing to do with your back. And you went to the doctor, right? All of a sudden you have competing evidence, and the VA is going to see that and say, well, that didn't stem from your back. That stemmed from you sucking at bowling, right? And so you look at competing evidence. That's a huge factor into every single claim that I think a lot of people really just discount competing evidence, right? You need evidence for your claim, not against your claim. Okay. Nexus letters, VeteranAI. What do you got for us?
So first off, again, just because, I see what's happening here, this ability to talk to you, for example, is very helpful. I've been running every question we went through just the chat, just to see what it says real quick, because that's the easiest, quickest way to get an answer, just FYI from everybody, if you want a question answered. So it basically said what Clayton just said, like, hey, I want to link X to Y, so in this case a torn meniscus to a back injury, and it basically said, hey, you're going to need healthcare evidence that points to that, and the big thing is you need that causation. So it specifies, hey, you need causation and you need to show directly how this links to this. And that's what I think the hard part is on this. It's going to be difficult to do that, but not impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you really need to get with your doctor and explain to them that this is what you think it is, and you got to get either them or another doctor to agree with that. And to kind of roll it into the Nexus letter, what it would do here, and I think if you guys were around when we first basically launched VeteranAI, we had an additional part to the Nexus letters where it was talking with what Clayton talked about, like, oh, I also hurt my back bowling or my knee bowling or whatever the thing is. We had that initially. It is eventually going to come back. It just takes a little bit of development resources to get that to come back. But the point is, what it's going to do in this case is we are going to go out and look at how many medical articles link these two things together. I imagine there are probably several articles that link these two things together, so that's really not the hard part in this case. Again, the hard part is going to be in your specific situation. do you have medical imaging? Do you have doctor's notes? Do you have something from your doctor saying that those two things are related? The Nexus letter that we can generate obviously can point the doctor in the right direction, but at the end of the day, the AI, I get this question all the time, the AI is not a doctor. It will not, it can't sign Nexus letters. If your doctor doesn't agree with it, there's no other magic pill. So you need to really work with your doctor on this one, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, this is a musculoskeletal conditions secondary to other musculoskeletal conditions are always difficult. Always.
Yeah.
All right, David Pagan. Okay, thank you for being a member. I definitely appreciate that. Real quick, I'm going to go through the member chats, and then Jerry, you're next. Don't worry, we're going to come to you. Let me just go through the member chat. It says, does the AI assist with SMCs? I think it assists with any claim.
Yeah,
Industrial monthly compensation, right? Yeah. So if let's say you're talking about like erectile dysfunction secondary to PTSD medication, the answer is yes, right? If you're looking at homebound evidence, sure, it absolutely can.
Let's see here. I'll run that through. Do you know if that's actually covered in 10 CFR 38?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, I don't know if that exact thing is covered there. Let's just, again, that's going. I want to see what it pops up with. It's always fun to test it. And again, like I said earlier, if there's something it doesn't know, and I'd ask 1 or 2 times before you hit my email inbox with that. But if it can't, let me know. And yeah, it sure did. It found everything. Okay, it's there.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, it's there. It's definitely there. So I guess the short answer is yes. It can help with that.
Absolutely. All right. Sherry Sanford, thank you for being a member. Says hello from Ocala, Florida. Here for all the info, and thank you for being a member. I appreciate that. Also, I totally skipped Nuclear here. Our Discord moderator. He's the man, makes everything smooth. So thank you for that. I definitely appreciate that. And Tracy, thank you for being a moderator of the live chat. Let me scroll down here just to make sure all the cool people get answered, right? Okay, life is a gamble. I used VeteranAI earlier this week to complete my personal statement and lay statement for my daughter and wife. It does an excellent job. This is not a paid advertisement. Okay, this is a organic comment. Thanks for the great product, making it better. Yeah. Life is a game. Well, thank you very much. Okay, yeah. I'm sure Dennis appreciates the feedback.
Yeah. Again, I really do, and like a short shout out to everybody. Like I know the first week, especially, I got so much, feedback. Yeah, I got a little negative stuff too, but in general, I was really appreciative to have all the feedback you guys were giving me. It
yeah,
really
dude. If I were to show you the negative feedback I get, you would spend your lifetime just being like, man, dude. These people really don't like this guy.
Yeah.
All right. I have been working on my claim on VeteranAI. I have several claims that it wants to add secondaries to, but they're all connected. Won't they cause more confusion still learning? I'm confused by this question, but I guess it depends on how you're structuring your claim to begin with. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I might understand the confusion. So the intent of every time, when you add a claim and you go through like one step where it says, hey, I think these are secondary conditions. The point of that, I want to make this real clear, is not to say you have those, you should link those. It is, hey, I think these things could happen because I went out and researched some common things. Do you have those? Because I know when I first submitted a claim, and I imagine most vets when they first submit a claim, they don't even know what secondary claims are at all. So that's the intent behind that. It's not necessarily to say you should do that. It is so you are like, oh, that could be related to that. And then that's, again, another talk you need to have with your doctor. And you say, hey, could this be related to this? If you can get your doctor's buy-in for that, all of a sudden that becomes a legitimate path at that point. Does that make sense? I hope that answers your question, Sherry.
Okay. I was awesome. So she had another comment. It says, I would love some tutorials on VeteranAI. I just put 3 in the comments. That's what I was doing as Dennis was talking. And that did spark a thought. I'm going to put you on the spot on this one. I'm sorry. What we should do is maybe have a page on VeteranAI just called tutorials, and I make specific videos for specific tutorials, right? Like whatever you get the most questions on, have like an FAQ, and then there's a video of like, here's how you do a personal statement, and it's just me going through personal statements, right? That's linked to a YouTube video that's already public.
And we do have something like that. Actually, how can I send you something? I can send. Is there a way I can send a backstage kind of thing, or?
Yeah, through private chat there. You can see private chat. That's just for me and you. Sorry, viewers, you can't see private chat. I assume you want me to post it.
Oh, there it is.
In the comments.
Yeah, so it's not, I don't think it's every video that you've ever done, because we did get that comment earlier where, hey, we could do some tutorials and some things. And just so you guys know, my goal long term, and again, everybody that's helping us, with any kind of purchases, I want to be real clear. That's like 100% where all the money is going to. We are literally just building stuff.
Yeah, we don't make any money.
Yeah, I know the wife's the one that goes to work right now, but the goal long term with this is really that we don't need tutorials. I know that may seem a little bit far from where we are right now, but the real goal is that anybody, any age, any background could pick this up and actually just use it. That's what I want to make. That's what I'm going to make. So we're going to do it.
Yeah, do it. I mean, you're doing really good. So Smoking Weber says hi from Washington. Hello there on the West Coast. Going down. Thanks for being a member. Bill Saunders says I recently bought the lifetime subscription to VeteranAI. I uploaded my denial letters. I also have blue button reports and medical record of reports from my personal doctor on a disk. How do I enter them in? I can tell you right now, you want to get those from the disk onto your computer. That'd be step one. Okay. Take it from there.
Yeah. So anything you want uploaded to the chat, because I want to be clear, there's some things we have integrations with, like, for example, claim letters. Like, we have specific integrations to extract data from those and actually provide input to the application. Other things, if you upload a lot of other documentation, really what that's doing, and again, this is just so you guys understand how to use the app as well as you can. If you upload anything else that's really not a claim letter, that can go into the ChatBot at that point. So the whole point behind that would then be to basically have like a Clayton in your corner, just that knows specific things about you at that point. How to do that? You go over to, on the left-hand side, if you're on the desktop, there's a Documents tab there, and you just upload whatever document you want to upload.
Yeah, awesome. Word. Okay, thank you very much for being a member. I appreciate that. Dan Rigman says, thank you, Clay. I appreciate all you for the veteran community. Thank you, Dan. And the American flag, dude. Okay, KP Power says, I have SMCL, ANA, agent attendance, or homebound. I have other unrelated service-connected conditions at 50 or higher at the time of award. Should I have been at SMCM now? I was just awarded 100%. PTSD, MTD should be SMCO or R1. Are you 100% alone for that mental health rating? Is my first question. Okay, my second question is, without looking at your situation outside of this comic, KP, I would just, if you think there is a mistake on an SMC, one, I would go speak to an accredited rep. Okay. Two, you could easily HLR your decision, just a double tap for SMCs, okay? I would speak to the accredited rep first. It's impossible for me to kind of answer that one based on the, through a comment and live chat here. But yeah, that's what I would do, is speak to an accredited rep, and if you see any mistakes, do a HLR. The VA doesn't really get SMCs wrong, okay? It depends on what your other ratings are and the severity of them. Or if you're talking about you are 100% P&T due to those versus 100% singular ratings. Okay, awesome. Let's look at, okay, here we go. We're almost finished with members here. I'm kind of lost, but thank you both for helping. Timothy Morris, you're in the right place. Okay, be sure to download Discord. Anyone can download Discord and everyone can join the CIVDIV server. Everyone can ask questions. Members can ask me questions or Dennis here questions 24/7. Okay, so hop on.
I normally answer.
All right, please see my comment. Too long to fit here. B. Lawton, do you have no idea how hard it is for me to search for a comment? I'm going to, but you should know that I don't want to. Okay, let me go down, and then I'm going to see if I can find this comment. B. Lawton, 2 different AAs. No, so it says you're only gonna have one of those. Okay, and shout out to Dr. Sharma. Yes, I love that guy. That dude made everything possible for me. Oh, look at that! I found it. Okay. Currently active duty. Did you need a diagnosis or is evidence you've been seen for something good enough? If you're active duty, having evidence that you've been seen for is good enough. Do you need a diagnosis? Yes, at some point you will. Generally given during the BDD claim process. That's what it's for. But either or, right? Diagnosed would be the absolute best, but if you've been seen for it, that's good enough. It still needs to be chronic. Right. So if you're doing PT one day, you trip and scrape your knee, that's not a chronic condition. You just get up and suck it up. Right. Versus your cartilage in your knee has deteriorated over time and it's not coming back. It's not going to heal. You've been seen for it. That's a chronic condition. You're going to be diagnosed with the CMP exam. Easy peasy. That's it. Right. And so you have kind of 2 different scenarios there. Doc put ow, back pain in the diagnosis portion. I read what I see, okay? But had an MRI done. I have DDD and 2 herniated discs. Yeah, you're going to be service connected for your back. That's not even an issue. It's going to be based on range of motion. Okay, let me go. Mark Boothman. You are an OG fan. I remember that name from a couple years ago. I don't know why, but thank you for coming back. I appreciate that. I love you more than everyone else. Okay, let's go up to where we left off at with Jerry. Old Jerry here. We had way more member chats than I thought. Okay. Jerry says, I first started with 80% in 2018. Then in 2020, I filed for an increase and received 90%. And in 2022, I filed again and it got to 100% P&T. I've read somewhere about the 20-year rule. Where does the 20-year rule start for me? Okay, so the 20-year rule is almost stupid, okay? And I'll tell you why. Because the overwhelming majority of veterans hit 55 before they hit the 20-year rule, meaning 55 years of age. And so the 20-year rule really only pertains to those younger veterans that in 20 years, essentially they're service connected prior to 35. Okay. To answer your question, where does it start? Dude, this is such a layered answer. Okay. 5, 10, 20. So the 5-year rule is for static conditions. That's it. The 10-year rule is on the effective date is service connection is protected. Right. So let's say you're 12 years in. You're already hit the 5-year rule. You've already hit the 10-year rule. The 20-year rule is for the percentage of that claim, not your overall percentage. It's the percentage of each individual disability per the effective date. So let's say you're at 21 years. And at 16 years, your mental health goes from 50 to 70. Okay, well, at 21 years, your mental health rating is protected at 50, okay, not 70%. The 70% clock starts on the effective date of the increase. I'm pretty sure that just blew up in everyone's face if you're trying to understand what I'm saying, but that's the deal, right? The real answer is it doesn't matter. Your P&T, don't sweat it, okay? Go do whatever it is you want to do in life, and congrats on your P&T. All right. I'm just going to burn through some questions here, Dennis, if you don't mind. Rebecca said, what's up? I joined VeteranAI, have to work with the tool. Yes, that I will say. I just got a new phone here, right? I got the new phone, and when I opened it up, I just had to play with it just to kind of figure out where things are at. Okay. It's the exact same with VeteranAI. So once you join VeteranAI, just use it, right? See what it can do, see its limitations. Let the tool know everything about you. The more it knows about you, the better it's going to be. I don't want to step in your lane too much. Go ahead and take that.
Yeah, no. I'm just trying. I'm reading a few of these questions, and again, I think the biggest thing people are missing out on right now, and I know there's other things out there, obviously, that can do this, but the chatbot really can answer a lot of questions. Like, I'm looking through a lot of these comments, and every one of them so far I've been able to answer. Like, somebody was asking, "Can you link brain bleeds to high blood pressure?" And I just asked it, "Can you link the same thing?" And
Can you share your screen? Do you see that option, or is there personal stuff on that screen?
No. I can share it.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. Share your screen. I'll pull it up for you.
Sure.
And then you can just kind of go through and show everyone the questions that you had answered.
Yeah.
There it is. I see it.
You can see it. Yeah. So in this case, I asked, hey, can you link these two things together? I will state real quick for everybody listening, sometimes it gets a little sassy about this asking for medical journals. If it does, best thing to do is just create a new chat, but it does have access to it. Sometimes it gets a little sad. But anyways, it came up and it went out and found 2 journal articles. Could you do this with Google? Sure, you can do this with Google, but the cool thing here is that you can't do with Google is you can just ask it additional questions. So there's 2 articles that link those 2 things together. So the answer is, yeah, you could link those 2 things. Now you just need the other key, which is talk to your doctor. Something about SMC. So here's the SMC question. This is about your back injury that was earlier. And again, it kind of just high level just kind of went over what Clayton said. Same thing. But again, the perk here is that you can then follow up and ask additional amplifying questions.
Mm-hmm.
And more or less, you're going to get a pretty good answer. It's not necessarily a direct replacement. Oops, don't want to do that. It's not like a direct replacement for, like an accredited agent or a service officer or something like that. But the thought behind all these things is that not everybody's got one of those people on access 24/7. With this, you have it on access 24/7. And if you figure out some additional information, you can then say, hey, Clayton, or hey, whoever, how do I do this? Because now you know more about it and you can actually go tackle the problem. And that's what we really wanted to do, is give you guys more knowledge on the topic very easily, very accessible.
Yeah, and the tool, just to give everyone like a well-rounded, what does VeteranAI do for you, like in real time? The chatbot, as he just showed, personal statements, buddy letters, generates Nexus letters for your doctor to complete. And then it also analyzes your claim situation. So it's like, hey, you're at 30% for mental health. Well, here's the 50% criteria, right? If you meet this, do these things. Bam, 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 right? Hey, you want to submit for rhinitis? The tool will know, oh, well, that's presumptive for you. All you need is a current diagnosis. And so the VeteranAI tool kind of has this like claim consulting thing to it. Just by looking at your claims for increases, for pending, for denials, it will tell you exactly what you want to do. If you're looking at an increase, it will tell you saying, hey, I'm submitting for mental health. And the AI will say, that's great. Here's some common secondaries, right? And it just does it for you. It essentially consults you on your claim, which is something that every single veteran, every single service member, right? Like VeteranAI should be integrated at TAPS and say, hey, when you get out, get VeteranAI, right? Because it just does everything for you and it has all the answers. But anyways, I'm not gonna,
He's a better salesman than I am. I'm just here to help you guys out.
Yeah, real praise. All right, says, hi, CIVDIV. Thanks for all your videos. They are great. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm in the decision phase for supplemental for mental health. Any tips on the weight would be helpful. Thanks in advance. Yeah, just prepare for your CMP exam if you haven't had it already. I assume that's the case. I'd also want to know why you were denied and what evidence did you submit for your supplemental. It was obviously new and relevant because you went through your supplemental claim, unless you didn't have a CMP exam and your decision phase is going to say, hey, you didn't submit new and relevant evidence, right? So there's so many things that can happen right now, but I'm wishing you the best. And if you are denied, look at the reason why you're denied. VeteranAI can do that for you, and then really, really submit new and relevant evidence to combat the reason for denial. All right. Barry Spruill says CIVDIV rules. Oh, Doyle's rules, right? Okay. Rebecca, thank you. Appreciate that. Rose City D, you heard M3. Okay. Hi, Clay. I plan to do 2 claims, one increase and the other secondary. Do I need to do personal statements for the increase and for each secondary? Thanks. Okay. There's 2 answers. There's always 2 answers. Okay. Mm-hmm. Do you need to do statements for these claims? The answer is no. It's objectively no. There's 0 requirements for that. What you need is the in-service event, the current diagnosis, and the Nexus for your... Actually, you don't need that. Sorry. For increases, you just need the symptoms showing the higher rating. That's it. For the secondary, you still need the big 3. It just shifts a little bit, where you have your primary service-connected disability, the current diagnosis, and the Nexus specifically links the current diagnosis back to the claimed disability, right? Or the primary service-connected disability. Do you need statements? No. Generally, I recommend statements for increases, especially for conditions that can't be seen on an X-ray. Do you need statements for secondary claims? Absolutely not. I generally don't recommend statements on secondaries, and here's why. It's because when I tell the VA, hey, here's my personal statement, my migraines are linked to my tinnitus, and here's why. The VA is going to say, oh, well, you're not a doctor, so whatever you said doesn't matter, right? That's essentially what a statement for a secondary is. Now, if your statement on your secondary is talking about your symptoms and how that's rated, go for it. If your statement is talking about the basis of connection, there's no way that's going to work. All right. Okay. Dennis, do you know where that chat is at real quick? Is it towards the bottom?
Beanie. It's by Beanie, I think is what it is. Yeah, Beanie D Marble. I'm going to go with. I'm not too good at names.
I see it. Yeah, all the way at the bottom. Okay, go ahead. Answer that one. So our claims companies also use the app. That's not what that one was.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so, is it my, okay. Maybe I read that question wrong. But anyways, the short answer is no. We intend right now to serve basically the veteran and the VSO community. Those are the tools we're specifically building. So yeah, the answer, the short answer is, we're here to try to help veterans, and we're here to try to help service organizations.
Yeah, I'm gonna add to that one if you don't mind. If you're asking if VeteranAI is a VA claims company, the answer is no. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no consultation. There's no Nexus letter, mill. There's none of that. It's simply a tool. Now, I don't want to spill too many beans, right? But the VA is not going to work with claims companies. The VA could work with VeteranAI, right? And so that right there should tell you, oh, they're not a claims company, right? So no, VeteranAI is not a claim shark. Now, are there, and this is funny to me, and we're just kind of, this is between Dennis and I, are there other claim company or VeteranAI tools out there that say they're not a claim company, but they actually are, and they charge more than claim companies? The answer is yes. Okay, so it just depends on who we're actually talking about right now. But for VeteranAI specifically, objectively, the answer is no. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, that was Rose City D. You heard. Okay. I couldn't not say that name again. All right. Does the AI have a hit list if doctors programmed in? AI will automatically deny claims by veterans who use certain doctors for Nexus letters. Benny, total coincidence that your question was next in line, and we just read the bottom of the chat. That's a coincidence. Okay. 2, there's rumors that there's like this blacklist going around. That's not true. There is a list. There's an Excel sheet that someone made that has 0 input into the M21 TAC 1 or 38 CFR whatsoever. The only input you'll see for private evidence of Nexus letters and DBQs is, are they actionable and sufficient? There is none of this blacklist doctors. That does not exist. Okay. Anyways, I don't know if you have an answer for that one or not, because
the only thing I know is
the thing he's implying isn't real. So.
Oh yeah, I was going to say the short story is, from what we've heard with the VA specifically. Again, I'm not the VA, I can't speak for them. Is that they've tried certain AI solutions, they're not overly happy, and they're basically very conservative with any decisions when it comes to AI. Let's put it that way. So I doubt they have anything like this.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Foxtrot Yankee Papa. We're probably going to end it in 10 minutes. Let's call it. Dennis at 8:10. Okay. I am 100% PTSD for all these conditions. Okay. Is Nexus letter and DBQ needed for SMCL? No. So there are various SMCLs. Okay. It gets a little complex. I see what we're talking about here, but the answer is no. And it's generally automatic, especially once you get into that type of SMC, which is way above SMCK. Okay. So the answer to your question is no. That's the answer. I'm going to try and just burn through a few of these, and see what we got. He said, sorry, I thought he was the VA AI programmer. Yeah.
No.
No, that makes sense. That's awesome.
That does make more sense now. Yeah, no, we're not doing it. I have no idea.
I will tell you this. Does the VA use AI to scrub? The answer is yes. Not for what you had mentioned, Benny DeMarble, but you look at OIG reports and you'll see like indications of fraud, and where DBQs are filled out and how they're checked out, how, the veteran's address and the provider's address was an in-person visit. So for instance, if I'm in Alaska and this person's in Virginia and they're telling the VA that we met in person, it's like, well, did you? Is it possible? Sure, I can take a plane. I don't think that's what's happening personally, right? But, sure, it's possible. And so there are machine learning programs that were just like saying, hey, this is a flag. We need to check that out, right? Now, nothing has come of that. It's just indications of fraud. There are 6 of them. I forgot the other 5. But yeah, there's 6 of them. Now, obviously, if you have all 6, if everything's pointing this way, something's probably over there. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's look at Raymond Perry. How safe is our information when your system asks to upload claim letters and other personal information? So I'm going to answer this from a user's perspective, right?
Okay.
And not an AI perspective. Let's just say I'm regular Joe Schmo. Okay. I'm a nobody. I purchased VeteranAI to upload my documents. You know what I'm going to do? Because best practices are still best practices. I don't care what company you're with or how secure that network is. I'm not going, I would black out my social security number just because that's what I do, right? There's no way, like I'm not sending my social security number over an email either because I just don't do it. Yeah. And so best practices are still best practices, and don't let any company, VeteranAI, the VA, anyone get you away from doing best practices, okay? That's where I'm going to stake my claim. Now, from a VeteranAI perspective, what happens when someone uploads a claim letter and it has their VA claim file number, which is your social security number on it?
Yeah, so we kind of talked a little bit about what happens. we no longer store the document itself. So that's really just like a more of a security measure on our end to basically reduce how much surface area there is to attack. But additionally, what Clayton was saying, I agree 100%. I never send anything over anything. I don't trust anybody, and that's fair. I don't blame you for that. And frankly, I don't care about your social security number. I don't care about your name or anything else. I don't want it. So if you don't want to give it to me, that's fine. But what we do to ensure privacy and to ensure that even if the worst thing were to happen, they still don't know who you are, is that any names, numbers, phone numbers, social security numbers, IDs, if you have like a credit card or something, again, I'm sure there's probably a bunch of random stuff. All those get basically changed into a bunch of ones and zeros, and it doesn't make any sense anymore. Okay, so that's all that's actually physically stored. And to get the exact information out of there, you would have to, there'd have to be a significant issue. So even worst come to worst scenario, it's completely anonymized. Nobody really knows who it belongs to or what it's saying, which is how, again, like that's how we try our best to protect your data. There's a bunch of other security measures. Everything's encrypted everywhere. Only certain people are allowed access to certain bits of the database, and that's just generally what we have to do to ensure basically our customers' privacy.
Yeah, dude, I'm like going through my undergrad for cyber policy right now, and how boring and dry that was. I was like, man,
it's I could go on. It's really not that fun.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I agree with what Clayton said. Don't give me anything you wouldn't feel comfortable sharing. One, and if you are giving me something, you don't want me to know specific bits, get rid of it. Like, just at the end of the day, you should treat that with any other tech company out there. You should not want to give Google, you should not want to give Facebook and all these other organizations your data. And I'm very frank, I don't want it. I only want stuff that's going to help you get across the finish line with the VA. So
yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's look at 2 more questions here. Okay, I want to see. That's a very, very specific question. Hold on. Just give me a minute here. We'll just be awkward real quick. Man, I just want a... Okay, here we go. If I submit for an increase to service-connected mental health, all right, so you have mental health service-connected, you're going to increase it. Your PTSD due to MST wasn't included, but I need it now for Nexus to migraines. Do I have to go through the whole PTSD MST claim? Yes. Or can my psychologist just add my diagnosis to my claim? So if you're submitting for the increase, okay, you're going to get 2 answers here. I'm going to give you what I would do if I were you. Because PTSD, the actual diagnosis of PTSD is, I'm going to put it in Borne style terms, it's more severe. It's anxiety is a part of it, depression is a part of it, but we're talking severe. Okay, it's not your generalized anxiety disorder, it's PTSD. And you also have MST a part of that. And so if you have evidence from service of the event occurring, okay, in my opinion, I would absolutely submit PTSD due to MST as a direct claim, even if you're service connected for mental health. That's just me. To answer your question, yes, you would have to go through the MST process, which is totally different than any other mental health process. So you're going to have to prepare yourself for that. Now, do you have to? No, you can just submit an increase for your mental health and look at your symptoms and kind of go through that process. But I would recommend the first option, submitting a direct claim. I wouldn't really recommend just filing an increase, although you could. Okay. And one more question here is, nope, I can't do two questions from you. I'm sorry. One more question. We'll do a policy update. Crypto Bridge. Is there any update to the Major Registrar Act? Nope. No, there's not. They try to push it into the NDAA. It's nothing. I can tell you the most important piece of legislation on the floor right now is probably the Senator Elizabeth Dole Act, which is about caregiver programs. There's another piece of legislation too. Let me look at my phone real quick. I keep all my notes because there's just a lot of stuff happening all the time. Another big piece of legislation for veterans right now is the Guard and Reserve GI Parity Act of 2024, HR 7543. It's essentially looking at education benefits for Reserve and Guard, because we all know Reserve and Guard get shafted more than anyone else. It's kind of funny in a really dark way. But yeah, Reserve and Guard just get absolutely destroyed all the time when it comes to VA claims altogether. Anyways, that's all I got. Dennis, thank you so much for spending an hour and 11 minutes with us. I appreciate it. You know, this dude, I'm just going to say, can I get are there moderators in here? What are y'all doing right now? Hold on. Let me do this real quick before, we have a, what I call slow brain in here. Got him. Okay. Later, loser. Anyways, yes. So where were we at? Oh, yes. We're ending the stream. Dennis here. Okay. Went all in on VeteranAI and is really veteran focused. You know, to give y'all some background, he had hit me up. It's just some random white kid hit me up, just like every other. I get so many emails every day. I don't even read them. Okay. Yeah. But he hit me up on LinkedIn. I was like, hey, what's up? He's like, hey, I want to fly out to you and let's meet. I was like, oh, all right, that's cool. Which is really weird for me to do because I'm usually not that type of person. Anyways, they ended up letting him stay at my house because he wasn't creepy. And then he went back home the next day. But Dennis, he is a good dude. VeteranAI is genuinely a good company. The lifetime is $200. You'll see other AI platforms specifically for veterans that are way upwards of over $1,000 easily, which is just insane to me when you look at profit margins on how much the tool actually costs. And I don't want to go down that route. Yeah, could he charge more? He absolutely could. And that's an integrity piece to VeteranAI. So for me to you, Dennis, thank you very much for what you do for the community. And go ahead and close us out. No pressure at all.
Oh, no pressure at all. Again, I just like to follow up on the lifetime bits. I really want to emphasize that anything that you're buying from me right now, that is just going to hire developers. That's going to make a better tool. And I very much appreciate everybody that's, bought anything at all. Okay. It really has helped. We have active job postings right now to build better products. Okay. So it really does mean a lot. We really hope, a few years down the road, maybe there'd be some big changes to how we price our services, but I really, am very appreciative. And again, Clayton, thanks for, again, taking my random LinkedIn message that one time, because, I think it really did change how, it really changed the direction of the company. So do appreciate that. And everybody get in the Discord and you can ask me any question you really want pretty much any time of the day. So get in there. More than happy to talk to you guys.
Yeah, it's funny with the Discord thing because that wasn't part of our deal at all. And I was just like, hey, join Discord. And then people started asking you questions. And I was like, yo, can you answer those?
It's also not a bot.
Yeah, it's you.
A bot. It's actually me. I get that all the time. I think it's great.
Yeah. All right, dude. Well, thank you very much for everything. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. And that's all I got. Thank you, everyone who asked questions. If you don't ask questions, there's no live stream. So until next time.